Welcome to Running Hot, Action Network's motorsports betting podcast. I'm your host, Nick Giffen, predictive analyst here at Action Network. And joining me, my co-host, Stephen Young of Roto Grinders, better known as Stevie TPFL. And on this episode, we're talking about Denny Hamlin's bracket challenge here on Running Hot. All right, so the Denny Hamlin bracket challenge is a 32 driver tournament style, March Madness style bracket where they're going to play down to a champion over 5 weeks of racing. It's going to start with this weekend's race at Kansas Speedway. Then it's going to go on to Darlington Raceway, where we have the round of 16. After that, Charlotte Motor Speedway for the round of 8. Then Worldwide Technology Raceway, also known as Gateway, for the final 4. I'm calling it the Fast 4. And then we have our championship race at Sonoma Raceway. So March Madness style bracket, we have 32 drivers. It is currently the top 32 drivers in owners points. They're seeded 1 to 32. So number 1 plays number 32 and so on. So that is kind of the setup here for the bracket challenge. Stevie, what do you think of this format? What do you think overall about Denny Hamlin's bracket challenge?
Overall, I think it's awesome. I think it's a great idea. It's just fun. We get into these, I don't know if this is the stretch of 5 races I would have picked personally, because the next 3 races are fantastic. We got Kansas, we got a tire fall off race at Darlington, and the Coke 600 is just a Coke 600. So me personally, maybe I start this at Gateway, where it's even ground, kind of racetrack. But I think overall, they just kind of ran with it because everyone was talking about it, and I'm talking about it, you're talking about it. So they, exactly what they wanted at the end of the day. So yeah, it's just fun. I did my bracket last night and had so much fun with it. I know you are we're so opposite when it came to this bracket. It's so fun. And I think that's why, when we pitched this idea, it was yeah, I'm in, because I was just hey, I think that guy is better than this guy. And Nick's I'm running simulations. So it's just fun. And that's what it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be fun. And there's nothing I know they're doing some stuff for it, and I think it's awesome. But yeah, it's just at the end of the day, it's just supposed to be fun and, kind of get more people engaged in some of these races. But yeah, this is a great weekend to start because I love Kansas.
Yeah, and I should note this, of course, was proposed by Denny Hamlin on his Actions Detrimental podcast, and Dirty Mo Media, they've taken it and they've run with it. If you go to dirtymomedia.com/bracket challenge, you can fill out your own bracket for Denny Hamlin's bracket challenge. Right now, there are over 24,000 entries at the time of us recording this. So it really has taken off. I'm excited to beat 24,000 other people with my simulations here. My math nerd skills. We'll see how they do. But, you went gut feel, I went simulation. So we're going to talk about our bracket. We're going to go region by region. We broke it down into 4 regions, kind of like we have with March Madness. I gave them names. I had to give them, we got 3 7-time series champions. We got Richard Petty. We got Dale Earnhardt. We got Jimmy Johnson. So I had to name the regions after those 3 drivers. And then I had to pick one more legendary driver. So I picked my favorite driver, Jeff Gordon, who I think would, under certain formats, have several more championships than he has, and one of the winningest drivers of all time. So those are our 4 regions. So we are going to talk about our brackets, and we're going to build a bracket together. So we are going to start with what I call the Richard Petty region. That is 1 seed Ross Chastain, 32 seed Noah Gragson, 17 seed Daniel Suarez, 16 Chase Briscoe, number 9 Brad Keselowski, 24 seed Eric Jones, and 8 seed Kyle Busch against 25 seed Eric Almirola. So Stevie, let's talk about your bracket here in this region. Well, then we'll get to mine, and then we'll maybe build a bracket from this region together. So what do you have? We don't have to go over every pick, but just kind of some notable things you may have in this region.
I think this region is pretty straightforward for me. The one that's kind of closest Suarez Briscoe, and if we just look at this track type, Chevy's been better than Ford, Suarez has been better than Briscoe. So, I'm definitely leaning Keselowski over Jones, and then Kyle Busch. Kansas is a great track for him. Chevy's had a ton of power, so I'm not overthinking this region for the first round anyway. I think this is a really straightforward Chastain, Suarez, Keselowski, Busch is kind of where I ended up on my bracket.
Yep, exactly. I think this one's pretty straightforward as well. I have Ross Chastain easily over Noah Gragson. And then you mentioned it's close between Suarez and Briscoe, but again, at Kansas, Daniel Suarez, much better than Chase Briscoe when we look at Las Vegas. Briscoe was a dreadful 30th in flags at Las Vegas. So I think Suarez is an easy pick here. For me, the hard part of this region was 9 versus 24 and 8 versus 25, because both of these situations here, and I've left in my official bracket, I've left both of these matchups subject to change, because you don't have to submit the bracket until the race starts. So we can see practice, we can see qualifying. But Brad Keselowski and Eric Jones were pretty close at Las Vegas, and Kyle Busch and Eric Almirola were pretty close at Las Vegas. So I'm leaving these as subject to change. I want to have one upset here between these two, because I have both of these about a 2-1 favorite for the higher seed, Keselowski or Kyle Busch, over the lower seed. But that means with 2-1, you know, I do want to be picking one underdog here, because I have 6 matchups where I have like in the neighborhood of 2-1 favorites, and I only have one upset of those 6 penciled in. I really want 2 to kind of fit that 2-1. We'd have four favorites winning and 2 upsets, which would be perfect 2-1 there. And so I think this is where I want to grab one of those 2 upsets. But aside from that, I have Ross Chastain over, doesn't matter, whoever in this bracket. I have Ross Chastain coming out of the Richard Petty region. But Stevie, we're going to build a bracket. So do we want to pick any upsets here? I think we're both pretty set on Chastain and Suarez in there. Do we want to pick maybe an Eric Jones or an Eric Almirola to advance in our combined bracket?
Well, I don't want to pick Eric Almirola. So if we want to upset, I think we go Jones over Keselowski. Keselowski, I mean, he's one of those guys that like shows up with no speed sometimes, and like they just don't adjust well. So I think if we're leaning an upset, it's hard for me to have like the Chevy Kyle Busch over the Ford Almirola, and where I think like the Chevy over the Ford in the opposite. So if we want to lean Jones, we want to go a little upset region. I don't mind going Jones over Keselowski, but I think we go Kyle Busch over Almirola.
Yeah, but it makes it interesting, because then we have Eric Jones at his best track at Darlington versus Kyle Busch. Do we want to roll the dice here with a second upset?
That's close. I mean, in my personal bracket, I have Kyle Busch coming into the Final Four. So, me personally, I'm hoping that Keselowski beats Jones at Kansas in my bracket, and then it's Keselowski versus Busch. Which, I mean, Darlington's a good track for both of those guys, yeah. Keselowski and Kyle Busch. So, slight edge there, but I mean, that's a like we could run the table here, and then you could take Chastain over Suarez at Darlington, and then at Charlotte you get Chastain beating Jones, and then you get Chastain in your Final Four. So I don't mind that.
All right, that's what I
see your thought process.
That's what we are doing for the Richard Petty region in our combined bracket. But for me, in my personal bracket, I've got it all pretty square here. The only upset I have in terms of seed upset is Daniel Suarez over Chase Briscoe. But then I've got Ross over Suarez. I've got Kyle over Keselowski, and then I've got Ross over Kyle. All right, so we're moving on to the Jeff Gordon region. That features the number 4 seed Martin Truex Jr. versus number 29 seed Chase Elliott in a heavy hitter matchup here. Then we have 13 seed Logano versus 20 seed Michael McDowell, 12 seed Chris Buescher versus 21 seed Bubba Wallace, and 5 seed Ryan Blaney versus the number 28 seed Ryan Priest in the battle of the Ryans there. So what do you got here for your personal bracket in the Jeff Gordon region, Stevie?
Well, I think Blaney drew a really good pick, really good spot anyway, because I mean, I definitely have him over Priest, and then whoever really, I mean, I have Wallace coming over Buescher out of Kansas. I think that it's a really good track for Bubba Wallace. So looking at that, I like Blaney over Bubba, and then I have the upset of the bracket, I think, and probably a mistake, but I'm going to go Elliott over Truex to try to gain some points here, because Darlington is a good track for Logano. So I think Logano beats Elliott or Truex. So like, I'm just trying to gain points with Elliott over Truex in that first round. And then I have Logano coming out of Darlington. And then just overall speed, I'm going Blaney over Logano. So I have Blaney coming out of this group. I also have Blaney going to the final two, and we'll talk about that too. But yeah, I mean, I like Blaney to come out of this group, and I think like it's really a coin flip to me. If Elliott is there, like he's solid, but at the end of the day, I think that Truex wins this at a very high rate. But I don't think either one of them beats Logano at Darlington. So I was just playing a little strategy there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you in that quarter or that half of the Jeff Gordon bracket. I have Joey Logano over Chase Elliott coming out of Darlington. The thinking behind Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., I think a lot of people be on Martin Truex Jr. coming off of his Dover win, but I do want to pick over Chase Elliott at some point because he's NASCAR's most popular driver. So it's going to be heavily picked to go pretty far in this bracket by a lot of Chase Elliott fans. So that'll get us a lot of leverage on the field there. So I got Joey Logano in the bottom half of the bracket. In the top half of the bracket, I got Ryan Blaney over Ryan Preece. I have Chris Buescher over Bubba Wallace in an upset. Now, it's not a seed upset, but it's an upset in terms of win probability. I have Chris Buescher only 37.7% to advance, but he's the only one where I have as, kind of a 2-to-1 dog. He's the only one of the 5 that I have in that 2-to-1 neighborhood advancing. You got to pick an upset somewhere. And I know we talked about on our regular Running Hot podcast how we like Bubba Wallace a lot, but Bubba is prone to some mistakes. His pit crew made a lot of mistakes here last year. So I think it is possible for Chris Buescher to pull off the upset here. So I'm going to go Chris Buescher over Bubba Wallace. And then Darlington's a terrible track for Ryan Blaney. So I'm taking Chris Buescher in the 12 versus 5 upset. Classic March Madness style. I got a 12 versus 5, picking the 12 seed. So then I have Joey Logano over Chris Buescher coming out of this bracket. But that means I got Joey Logano in my fast 4. So again, we got to build a bracket here, Stevie. What do you want to do in terms of this region, the Jeff Gordon region?
Listen, you got crazy in your bracket, and I love it. But in our running hot bracket, I really have a hard time taking Bubba or taking Buescher over Bubba. Yeah. So I'm going to stick with our thoughts on our running hot podcast and just transfer them over. We're going to take Wallace over Buescher. I'm not even letting you argue. I mean, you could make an argument for Logano having issues at Kansas and maybe going McDowell and then like really shaping up your bracket differently. Or just saying, does Truex just beat the most popular driver in the first round and then we don't even have to worry about Chase Elliott anymore?
Yeah, I think we gotta go Truex since we both have Chase Elliott in ours. We're gonna roll Truex, and then I still like picking Logano over Truex to get some leverage on the field at Darlington. So we're going to go Truex, Logano, Logano over Truex. We're going to go Blaney over Buescher, over Bubba, because Darlington isn't one of Bubba's greatest tracks either. So I think Ryan Blaney will take the cake there. So we got the battle of the teammates, Ryan Blaney versus Joey Logano. You want to go Blaney or do you want to go Logano in this one for our combined bracket?
See, in my bracket, I have Blaney, so it's like, oh, do I want to hedge? I mean, we could also take Truex over Logano at Darlington, and then take Truex over Blaney at Charlotte, because I mean, Charlotte's a good track for Truex, and
that's true.
Give it a little a little Truex run. And like, how many people are going Truex over Elliott? I mean,
that's a good point. That's a good
point. People love them some Chase Elliott. So,
all right, so we're gonna audible there. We're gonna go Truex over Logano and Truex over Blaney.
I like it. I think that makes it different. And then we can talk about like we had Chastain, right? Chastain over Truex at Gateway.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one when we get to the final four.
Yeah. So I mean that's where it gets fun.
Yeah. So that is the Jeff Gordon region. Now we're moving to the third region, the Dale Earnhardt region, which features the number 3 seed. So we got all the 3s here lined up for the Dale Earnhardt region. This again features the 3 seed Kevin Harvick versus number 30 seed Harrison Burton, 14 seed Stenhouse, 19 seed Cindric, 11 seed William Byron versus 24 seed Corey LaJoie. 22 seed Corey LaJoie. And then we have a number 6 seed Tyler Reddick versus number 27 seed AJ Allmendinger. So Stevie, what do you have in this bracket?
I have this one, 3 of these very straightforward. Harvick over Burton, Byron over LaJoie, Reddick over Allmendinger. I mean, I think those 3 are very straightforward. I think the Cindric and Stenhouse one is really close. I lean because I wanted to take a lower seed out of these four, and I mean the other three, I just couldn't pull myself to do it. So I personally took Cindric. I don't care if it's Cindric or Stenhouse. At Darlington, I'm taking Harvick in that group. So I'm just trying to pick one upset and then like go from there. But I mean, Darlington's a great track for Harvick, so I had no issues with that. The one that's interesting is the next round at Darlington between Byron and Reddick. I think it's really close. I went off of this year's speed in my head and just said Byron. And then I, again, just going off of this year's speed, took Byron over Harvick at Charlotte to have Byron, of all drivers, I know everyone's shocked, to advance to my final four.
Yeah, I went pure seed chalk in this bracket. I don't have a single seed upset. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have an upset. I think you could say potentially Cindric is favored over Stenhouse, or Stenhouse would be a dog there. I actually have Stenhouse favored, so I don't think that's an upset. But the upset I do have is Tyler Reddick over William Byron in that Darlington race. I do have Byron favored here, but to get a little different, because I do think more people will pick Byron, I'm going with Tyler Reddick in the upset there. But then at Charlotte, you got to give the nod to Kevin Harvick there. So I have Kevin Harvick coming out of the Dale Earnhardt region. You got William Byron coming out of the region. As far as our combined bracket, what do you want to do? We want to get crazy anywhere? Do we want to say, Reddick or William Byron or Kevin Harvick has a problem in the round of 32, or are we going straight chalk? What are we doing?
Well, I think Harvick over Burton. Burton's just, I don't know. He hasn't been great this year. Really kind of expecting more from him. And then I don't see LaJoie beating Byron, and I don't see Allmendinger beating Reddick. So I think it really comes back down to that Cindric Stenhouse matchup. I really think it's a coin flip. I know you pick Stenhouse, I pick Cindric. So we need to settle the coin flip, and I don't have a coin on my desk. So
here's how we're gonna settle it.
All right.
Flags at Las Vegas, Cindric was better than Stenhouse, which to me was a surprise because Las Vegas is usually one of Stenhouse's best tracks. So I'll tell your Cindric pick here for our combined bracket, and we'll go Austin Cindric over Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Then we go on to Darlington. So we have Stenhouse versus Harvick. We have Byron versus Reddick. What do you want to do?
Well, we said Harvick versus Cindric. Dude, Harvick is so good at Darlington.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think that pick matters as much, because I mean, I think it's really straightforward. I think overall Darlington is a good track for both Reddick and Byron. So I mean, I could see either one of those happening. If we're going off of this speed, this season's speed, I think it's hard to say like anybody but Byron right now, because I mean, he has to be like the favorite to win the championship outside of Kyle Larson right now. So
I agree.
The only reason that he's an 11 seed in this bracket is because of the points deduction. Yeah, so he would be really close to a number one seed. But yeah, I mean, I have it pretty straightforward. I think Harvick over Cindric, and then Byron over Reddick, and then Charlotte. Maybe we get different, but I don't know. Byron is so good everywhere right now. I mean, I think if we get different, it's Harvick over Byron if we think Byron's going to be the higher pick there.
Yeah, let's do Harvick over Byron simply because there is a chance that Byron loses to Reddick at Darlington. So we'll play it a little safe there, and we'll take Kevin Harvick. So right now we have the 1, the 2, and the 3 seed. The 1, the 3, and the 4 seed, the favorite coming out of each region in our bracket. But it's always different from what we've got. So we're going to go Harvick over Byron in the Dale Earnhardt region as our combined bracket. All right, that leaves one more region, the Jimmie Johnson region. That features the number 2 seed Christopher Bell versus Austin Dillon, 31 seed. 15 seed Josh Berry or Alex Bowman if he gets back in that ride versus 18 seed Ty Gibbs. 10 seed Kyle Larson versus 23 seed Todd Gilliland. And the number 11 seed, the number 11 car of Denny Hamlin versus the number 26 seed. And I have that wrong. That was on my article. I need to edit that and fix that. It is the number 7 seed Denny Hamlin versus the number 26 seed Justin Haley in the Jimmie Johnson region. So what do you have there as far as your bracket?
Yeah, I mean, my bracket, I have Hamlin over Haley, Larson over Gillen, and then at Darlington, I have Larson beating Hamlin, but man, that one's close. I could see that going either way. They're both very good at Darlington. Just, I mean, when you think of high tire wear tracks, you kind of just say, hey, Larson is the guy that just makes it happen. And I mean, both of their histories at Darlington, like that could really go either way. And then I have Bell over Austin Dillon, and I think the really interesting one is Barry and Gibbs. My personal bracket, I took Gibbs just because I think a lot of people will go Barry because it's a dirty mo, and yeah, he's a superstar. But Josh Berry is very talented. I'm not saying that he's not. I think I'm gonna go the unpopular pick. I have Bell beating whoever it is at Darlington either way. So to me, it goes back to that situation. I'm just trying to gain a point on the field here. So yeah, I mean, I have Bell beating Gibbs in my bracket, and then Larson beating Bell at Charlotte to get Larson into the Final Four.
I like it. I'm pretty similar to you in this bracket. So I have in that Barry Gibbs match, I also went with Ty Gibbs because I do think more people are going to be picking Josh Berry, and I have it pretty close to a coin flip. I actually have Gibbs just ever so slightly favored in this matchup. And so I'm going to roll Ty Gibbs over Josh Berry, but then doesn't matter who I've got. Christopher Bell beating, whether it's Josh Berry, Alex Bowman, Ty Gibbs. I've got Christopher Bell at Darlington. Then in the top half of the bracket, I have Kyle Larson over Todd Gilliland. This is where I have the big upset. Justin Haley, I am taking over 7 seed Denny Hamlin. Now, if we look at it, there are 6 matchups I have where a driver has about a 5-1 favorite, right? So a 1 in 6 chance, or sorry, a 5 in 6 chance of advancing. So in Denny Hamlin's case, I have about a 5 in 6 chance of him advancing, and I have 6 of these matchups. So I needed to pick one, I felt like, to stay in line with the math. And if something's going to happen, I feel like it's going to happen to Denny Hamlin because Justin Haley was really good at Vegas. He was 16th in flags. He finished ahead of Denny Hamlin at Vegas. He beat him at Vegas straight up, beat him in this matchup. And then Denny Hamlin's had all sorts of pit crew issues. Denny Hamlin speeds on pit road. Something's going to happen. This is where I'm getting the upset, but it doesn't matter because Kyle Larson is going to be Kyle Larson at Darlington. But then I have Christopher Bell over Kyle Larson at Charlotte. I think the reason I'm taking Bell is just because Kyle Larson has a much more difficult path by potentially facing Denny Hamlin. So it may not even be Kyle Larson getting this far. So that's why I'm rolling with Christopher Bell out of the Jimmy Johnson region. But for our combined bracket, Stevie, I think we got to have an upset. I think we got to pick Haley still in the combined bracket.
I'm good with taking Haley if we're taking Larson to the Final Four.
Let's do it. We're going to take Larson to the Final Four.
All right.
We're going to take Haley over
Are
Denny
we going
Hamlin.
Gibbs or Barry? Because we both were on Gibbs.
We both were. So we'll go Barry here.
Just to make
just to be different.
Little hedge life.
Little hedge, exactly.
Listen,
hedge life.
We just took Haley over Hamlin. So our bracket is way different than everybody's. So at this point, it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, we'll chalk it up. We'll go Bell versus Larson. But then we're taking Larson to the Fast Four. So that means our Fast Four will feature number 1 seed Ross Chastain versus number 4 seed Martin Truex Jr. And then it'll feature number 3 seed Kevin Harvick versus number 10 seed Kyle Larson as we go to Worldwide Technology Raceway, aka Gateway. So for your Final Four, though, obviously you don't have that exact same Final Four. I don't have that exact same Final Four. So for your Final Four, what do you have? Then we'll go to my Final Four. Then we'll talk about our combined Final Four.
Yeah, my Final Four is Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, and Kyle Larson. So I have no high seeds. I guess Blaney's a 5 seed, but I didn't take any of the top 4 seeds because it's NASCAR and it's high variance, and I went off of gut. So in my Final Four, I have Blaney beating Kyle Busch at Gateway. I think it's a coin flip. And then I have my boy William Byron doing what he's done all season and just edging out Kyle Larson by a little bit. That's what he does. So give me Byron over Larson in my Final Four to give me the championship matchup of Blaney versus Byron.
All righty. And for me, I have the Joey Logano run versus Ross Chastain. So 13 seed versus a 1 seed there. I have pure chalk in the bottom half of the bracket. Number 2 seed Christopher Bell versus number 3 seed Kevin Harvick. I'm taking Ross Chastain over Joey Logano to anger everybody, to piss everybody off because they hate Ross Chastain. But also, there's a very real chance Joey Logano doesn't even make it this far. So I think Ross Chastain, I'm picking to the championship round. And then I'm going to take Christopher Bell over Kevin Harvick. Both of these guys are very good at the flat tracks, but Bell has just overall had more speed than Harvick this year. So I'm going to roll with Christopher Bell for setting up a 1-2 matchup in the finals. As far as our combined final four, like I said, we have Ross Chastain versus Truex, and then we have Larson versus Harvick. So what do we want to do here?
Yeah, I mean, Chastain and Truex were a coin flip at Gateway last year. They both had a lot of speed. They both ran really well. So I could see that going either way. I mean, their driver rating was very similar. Speed-wise, they were very similar. I want to go Chastain. Like my gut wants to go Chastain because I think like if we look back to last year, Chastain has had more overall speed. So I think we go Chastain.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning to. And I think, again, just kind of leveraging versus the field. I think a lot of people are going to pick against Ross Chastain because they love to hate him. So I think this is a good leverage spot to pick Ross Chastain going to the finals. Then we have Kyle Larson versus Kevin Harvick. I know where you're going with this one. I think we got to go Larson, right?
I think we got to go Larson, and then because I mean, it's hard to argue against Kevin Harvick on a flat track, but it's a flat track that he doesn't have as much like track time at, and like last year we talked about him a lot going into the race, and he just never really got it going. He was like a 15th place car in that race, and then ended up having some issues and he was out of the race early, but. So I think we lean Larson, and then we have a championship matchup of Chastain and Larson,
baby. The
and
road course.
that's juicy.
Oh yeah, that's juicy. And both these guys are super good road course racers. So that'll be interesting to talk about. But for your championship matchup, what do you got?
Well, I had, like I said, I had Blaney and Byron getting to Sonoma, and if I'm looking at those two, I know that Byron is a better road course racer than Blaney. And what's funny, like I have Byron as my champion, and no one's shocked by that whatsoever if they listen to our podcast at all this year. But I was thinking about it, I was laughing about it earlier. I was like, if I would have made this bracket preseason, I probably would have had Byron as the champion as well. I'm just very high on him this year. So, like, again, I went more off of gut than like statistics and stuff. So, Byron being my champion just makes so much sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's hard to go against, the second best car in the series so far this year when you talk about average green flag speed over all the races, with Larson being number one. For me, my championship match, I have number one seed versus number two seed. I have Ross Chastain versus Christopher Bell. And at a road course, this is a really interesting matchup because both these guys, very good road course racers. But for me, what I think separates the two is if we look last year, Chevy was much better than Toyota at these road courses. And while Toyota did make gains, and in fact, Christopher Bell did end up winning the Roval off of a strategy move. He was not a race-winning car at the Roval. But he had a strategy move where he grabbed tires late. But the issue with JGR with the Toyotas at these road courses was tire wear. They were fine on a short run, but they could not sustain over the long run. And of all the road courses, Sonoma has the highest tire wear. So I think that separates the two. Chastain was also a little bit better than Bell at COTA earlier this year. So I'm going to take Ross Chastain as my Denny Hamlin bracket challenge. A little jab there to Denny Hamlin going with his arch rival Ross Chastain in this bracket. But for our championship, we have Kyle Larson versus Ross Chastain. I think we got to go Larson, one of the best road course racers in the series. Don't you agree?
Yes, I do agree that he is one of the best road course races. Obviously, Trackhouse won at Sonoma last year with Daniel Suarez. They had a great package. I think Chastain finished 7th in that race. So Larson did not have the best race. Taking stage breaks away and just letting these guys, the fastest cars, win on road courses this year. It's hard not to say, hey, let's not take Kyle Larson here. So I think the running hot champion, which is shocking because he's probably been one of our most picked players in bets this year. But give us Kyle Larson as our Denny Hamlin champion for our Running Hot podcast bracket.
Yeah, that is a very spicy bracket that we have together. We've got that Justin Haley upset. We've got it, a little bit different in some of these spots here. We took an Eric Jones as well. So we've got a couple upsets in there in our Running Hot bracket. It's a nice little combination of your thoughts, my thoughts. So that is going to do it for this episode of Running Hot, Action Network's motorsports betting podcast. Thank you for listening to this special episode where we talk Denny Hamlin's bracket challenge. On behalf of my co-host Stephen Young, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you back next week on Running Hot from Action Network.